watch
How?
this?
How?
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 Ew,
How do you watch this?
Dude, I'm gonna pee my pants.
Hello, you're listening to How Do You Watch This, a movie review podcast where each week we give each other a movie to watch in the genre we love, but they don't. My name is Demi, and I love horror.
My name is Megan, and I love romance.
And this week I had Megan watch the movie Pearl, which
Yeah.
is prequel, I guess, part one of a upcoming trilogy.
Oh, a trilogy. They're gonna have
Yeah.
it like a sequel to X?
Yeah, called Maxine
right.
with
Oh boy, with a
Three
big
X's.
X in it.
Yeah.
Ah, triple X. Oh boy. I have a lot of questions about what happens in X. I almost Googled it, but I was like, I'm just gonna ask you about it.
Yeah. I'll
'Cause I'm curious.
definitely let you know what goes on in that movie
Yeah.
because that one is a wild time.
Yeah. So I've heard from you, but I believe you. Yeah, so Pearl is a drama horror directed by Ty West. It is part of a mysterious common thread that I am almost positive I know, but I don't know the wording of perfectly. So I'm going to throw like 40 different possible
Okay.
wordings next week. But until then, we'll make everyone else see if they can figure it out.
I feel like you'll know, but yeah,
Yeah.
wording.
The wording of it, but it's like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So the year is 1918 and the world is at war for the first time. The scene is set on a farm in middle America, I think. Right? Southern states. There's an alligator, but
Yeah, it's probably like south.
Georgia.
East.
Yeah.
Yeah. Georgia sounds good. I
Something
think
like that.
Georgia.
Yeah,
But-
we'll say Georgia. It's just giving middle America vibes, but yeah, it's a farm. With Mia Goth playing the leading lady, Pearl. It's clear from the very start of the movie that Pearl is a lively character with an exciting imagination. She dances as if on stage wearing a beautiful dress. The intimate moment is interrupted by a disgruntled Ruth, her mom, who berates Pearl for wearing her clothes. Despite the harsh reprimand, Ruth has good reason to hurry Pearl back to work. The two of them are in charge of running the family farm now that the father is infirm after he caught the Spanish flu. His body is wrecked, left in a near vegetative state at the will of his living relatives. That's like the extent of what I pre-wrote before you came on because I thought I had 10 more minutes. So let's
It's
try to make
fairly
the rest of this sound
Beautifully
professional.
written.
Thank you so much. I was really proud of myself as I wrote it. So essentially, the entirety of the movie is Pearl and her journey towards stardom. Pearl is determined to escape this life that she is trapped in. She is stuck working a farm, taking care of her father who's sickly, and living with her mother who is not happy,
Yeah.
to say the least.
Yeah.
Not living her best life. She takes every opportunity she can to enjoy life. So she goes to the movies when she picks up her father's morphine and drinks the morphine, which is whatever. We'll talk about that later. We learn that she's also married and her husband is away at war fighting. She also bathes in front of her dad. And we're going to talk extensively about this because that was,
Wants to
a
save the hot
deleted-
water.
yeah, no, that's in my deleted scene. I'll be honest. Of all the things she did, that was the worst, by far the worst. So when she goes to the movies, she sees Palace Follies. And I meant to look up how long that movie plays, but it seems relatively quick. The movies back then were not fast. They're silent films. I think it's maybe 10, 15 minutes. Outside of the theater, she meets the projectionist, whose name we never learn, but who essentially flirts with her and says that he will open up his doors anytime so that she can come and watch more films. He's clearly flirting with her even though she's married, and he knows that she's married. She says, my husband's away at war. He gives her a little splice of the film Palace Follies, which is a really great move. I'm not going to lie. He gives her a clip, and it ends up flying out of her overalls at some point into a cornfield. When she gets off her bike to look for it, she decides to, for some reason, go in the middle of the cornfield, dance with the scarecrow, and pretend to fuck it.
thought this would be your deleted scene.
It should have been. I don't. You know what? I don't know. It's like this two really rough ones, but at least the scarecrow wasn't a living being.
That's true. The scarecrow
But-
scene made me laugh, but
Yeah. Okay. Your comedy choices are questionable, but yeah, sure. The mom realizes that Pearl spent more than the allotted amount for the prescription. And instead of saying she went to the movies, she lies and said she spent it on candy. And the mother says that she can't have dinner now, which is really cool to do to an adult child, but also understandable because they are impoverished in a time when most other farmers are famished or sick. Pearl is desperate to be a star and prays to God to please let her be one. The next day, her in-laws come by, Mitzi and her mother, who is unnamed, bringing a roast pig, which plays an unlikely role in the film as it slowly deteriorates on their front porch, which is super disgusting. And Demi, I want you to think to yourself, what was Megan thinking about today as she made white rice as part of her dinner?
oh.
Literally, it's all I could see in my mind were those freaking maggots. I was like, God,
Sorry.
horrible. Anyway, the mother won't accept the roasted pig because she doesn't accept charity, which is a shame because they're starving, and just complained about not having 8 cents, which I Googled and equates to $1.27 today. So it's not like, she went out and spent
Right.
a bajillion dollars.
That was a big ass, nice looking pig.
Yeah, it was, it looked tasty. And if I was Pearl, who didn't eat dinner the night before, I would have been like sneaking a little bite,
Right.
flip it upside down, sneak a little bit,
Yeah.
Anyway, that night, Pearl sneaks out in her mother's old dress again and knocks on the theater side door to talk to the projectionist. She wants to see Palace Follies again as she prepares for an audition at the church for some dance line. She thinks it's her big moment.
Yeah, it's kind of like a traveling troupe.
Yeah.
To like bring joy to the depressive state everyone's in right now.
Right. Like between the war and also the Spanish flu, things are not great. She's wearing a mask. I was like, this is taking me back a few years.
I know.
So this is the scene when we really realize we already knew that the projectionist had questionable morals, but now we see that he is pretty much a scumbag because he puts on a porn for Pearl and tells her that she could be in pornos if she really wanted.
He's like, I'd watch that. It's like, bro.
God, I know. I was like, bro.
Like, you cute, but let's step back a bit.
Did I love the suspenders and the rolled white button up? Yes. Did I love the little caterpillar mustache? No. We will talk about the mustache.
He didn't look
it's
bad,
a side
though.
character.
He didn't look bad, though.
We're good. We're in disagreement. This is the red dress in
No
in
way.
Love at
No
First Sight.
way.
Yes, we will talk about it. So when she returns home later, after refusing to, do anything further, she hears her mother crying, and we know the mom is not happy. Pearl takes her dad to go see the alligator Theta. At the beginning of the movie, she had killed a poor, unsuspecting goose and fed it to Theta, which, that's how all serial killers start. Killing small animals. It's clear that Pearl wants to kill her dad. She's like pushing him towards the edge of the dock, and luckily Ruth shows up and breaks it up. There's a weird scene where Pearl takes an alligator egg, hides it, and then breaks it. So that was strange. Don't really know what that purpose was. She was holding on to it for later. Also, you can't break an egg by squeezing it. Did you know that?
Did not know that.
I have done this experiment. If you take an egg and you squeeze it with one hand, you cannot break it because it simulates the action of like a chicken sitting on top of it.
Oh.
And the way that they're like created makes it so you can't break it that way unless you had like really sharp nails you were poking into it, which she didn't. She's a farmer. Okay.
Right.
Anyway,
she's not gonna have long nails.
Plot holes left and right, Ty West. So the mother confronts Pearl about the movie poster and tells her she's going to have to stay in the bunkhouse because she needs to quarantine herself. And this is the start of a very aggressive argument between the two in which they become screaming at each other. The mother says, quote, "I've seen the things you've done in private when you think others aren't watching." She tells Pearl that she's scary and that she needs to keep her inside before she hurts someone else. She says that essentially she won't be successful as a film star and she will not make it when she tries out for this dance troupe. She says the daughter's a failure. She slaps her, and a hand-to-hand combat leads to the mom catching on fire and Pearl throwing boiling water on her to put it out. Instead of actually getting help for the mom, for what was honestly an accident, she hides the mom's body in the basement and lets her slowly die. The dad is clearly scared because obviously, and she leaves her dad there to suffer alone the entire night as she goes and bangs the movie guy. Right. Okay. So she gets up the next day. He drives her home. The dad is still there. She hides him in his room. And we continue to see the roast pig covered in maggots. Pearl somehow tries to seduce the projectionist again, for God knows what reason. But he hears thudding noises in the basement, and she proceeds to tell him that she locked their dog in there after creating a mess in the dining room. He becomes suspicious of her when she later, like 5 minutes later, says they don't have a dog. And he says he has to go and wishes her luck at her audition. He gets in the vehicle and before this, she starts screaming at him, like, why are you leaving me? Why have you gone cold on me? Blah, blah, blah. He is, handling her calmly and is like, you're scaring me a little bit. Everything's fine. I'm going. And goes to leave. She picks up a pitchfork and kills him brutally and throws his body in the swamp. She proceeds to sponge bathe her dad with bloody hands, which feels counterintuitive. And the dad cries just as she smothers him with a pillowcase. Mitzi is at the auditions. That's her sister-in-law. And Pearl shows up there as well. Mitzi says, "How are you not scared?" And Pearl says, "I guess I'm just more used to the feeling." She does her dance and has this whole visual. She is in it. She is living it up and thinks she did the best job possible. And the guy says, "Thank you, but it's going to be a no." She loses her mind. She cannot handle it. They find out that they're looking for someone more all-American, younger blonde, someone with an X factor. She decides it must be Mitzi that is chosen. She's begging for another chance, screaming, "I'm a star," which you referenced last week, and is scream crying outside the church. And it's uncomfortable to watch. It is uncomfortable to watch. Mitzi takes her home, goes inside, pours them some milk, and Pearl tells Mitzi that there must be something wrong with her. And this is the first time she's ever said that out loud to anybody. And Mitzi's like, "Listen, just practice saying what you would say to Harold to me." And this is when there is an epic monologue from Pearl. Really, 10 out of 10 monologue. Mia Goth should win awards for this movie. She admits to cheating. She says that she was pregnant at one point. She didn't want to be a mother. She just wants to be loved. She talks about killing animals and then people, and then asks Mitzi if she's frightened of her, and Mitzi smiles and says no. Pearl is convinced that Mitzi got the part, and then, is like, don't be shy, just tell me. And Mitzi ends up thanking her for her congratulations. Long story short, Mitzi kills her with a pitchfork. So that was
Pearl kills Mitzi.
Sorry. Pearl kills Mitzi with a pitchfork, and that was super disappointing.
Yeah, Mitzi was so nice.
Yeah, Mitzi was really nice and handled the situation as calmly as a person could possibly handle it.
Yeah.
The only thing that I would have suggested she do differently is to steal the bike and get away faster, but
yeah, fucking book it.
Yeah, exactly. The mom is still alive in the basement, and Pearl curls up in her arms and then proceeds to tidy up. The mom and dad set up a really gruesome tableau at the dining room table, chops up Mitzi, throws her in the swamp, and Howard comes home and sees everything, which is horrifying. And that is Pearl.
Oh, Pearl.
Pearl. It's actually, I don't know if you felt this way. I found it to be a pretty slow movie.
Mm-hmm.
The progression of events, I felt like I could have really written probably one more paragraph after the initial two I read and gotten the gist of what happens.
Yeah.
Essentially, she's slowly losing her mind
Right.
and, not doing well. She doesn't want to be on a farm. She wants to be a star. Got it. Locked in. I was convinced there was going to be some sort of plot twist. I was like, Howard's already dead.
Uh-huh.
I was convinced Howard was already dead
Yeah.
and that she killed him and the mom knew that she killed him and that was
Mm.
the big secret and it would be revealed to Mitzi. And so because I was so convinced of this, I was a little disappointed that it was just,
Yeah.
she just was going cray.
Yeah.
And, whatever.
I was curious how you were gonna see the movie from not seeing X, because
Mhm.
most people watching Pearl have watched X
Right.
and they know the gist of things and kind of have an expectation of what was gonna happen. But yeah, I do think that Pearl is a little slow. I think watching it again, I enjoyed it more than the first time
Mhm.
because going from X to Pearl is so different. X is
Yeah.
like just a wild movie. There's so much that
Yeah.
happens. It's really like a true slasher film. And then
Okay.
Pearl is just like more of like a drama, it's a
Mhm.
story. You're learning about this girl who is crazy, but you also kind of feel bad and all this
Yeah.
happens, but it's doesn't really get really gory, or even the murder scenes aren't really
Aren't
gory
that
until the
bad.
very
Yeah.
end when you see her chopping up Mitzi.
Yeah.
But it's very chill, and the first time I watched it, it was a little slow. I was like, "Oh, this wasn't what I expected,"
Yeah.
but I I do appreciate the I don't know, the care for the story. I think they really like cared about this character Pearl and really wanted to,
Mhm.
whether you liked her or not as a character, I think they really did a really fleshed out character. So I
Yes.
appreciated that.
She is fleshed out. I have some issues with the portrayal of her mental illness.
Hmm.
I feel a little bit like it was kind of like a watering down of her psychopathy because I think that there's a lot of things that she's experiencing that felt very real. Like
Yeah.
her devastation and her fear of being left alone and the way that comes through with like screaming and crying.
Mhm.
It doesn't feel like unrealistic. It feels
Yeah.
like genuine, the way a lot of people feel on the inside and maybe don't portray it. And she has this sort of lack that gets there. But she so quickly switches to this murderousness where we saw it building up a little bit. She wants her parents dead, whatever.
Right, right.
She just wants to be free of them.
Yeah.
But I felt like there could have been, I don't know, it was like something like snapped in her and I didn't feel that connection as much. We saw her kill like one or two animals before then,
Yeah.
which
I,
was like not great, but
right.
didn't feel like it led me into that like
Yeah. I
gradual
think
decline.
yeah, yeah. And I think like the only other hint was the mom saying that she has been doing this. Like she has been
Yeah.
murdering animals. And so, there's a part of her that is just not all there
Hmm.
and kind of just like a sociopath, she's just like
Yeah.
doesn't care. Like it's like she doesn't really see people for people, and she's just wants to be a star. That's all she cares about.
Hmm.
And but yeah, you're right. It is like it kind of seems like it's happens.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I guess she's just like bored. She's
Yes.
just on this
With
farm and she's just like, well,
Yeah.
nothing else to do.
And I get that. Like I get that. I think it's a common plight. Like you can empathize with her because as someone who grew up in a pretty rural area, not I was not on a farm stuck taking care of a farm, but there wasn't much going around. There wasn't a
Yeah.
lot to do, and you look forward to being able to branch out and do your own thing. And that's not an option
Right.
for her. She's trapped.
Yeah.
She is stuck basically working a full-time job to run this farm and getting no joy out of it. She can't even go to the movies without getting in trouble. Her
Yeah.
mom is not pleasant. Her mom is miserable, which is fair because they're living a miserable existence
Yeah.
and they're caring exclusively for the father. So it makes sense. She's dreaming of something bigger. She wants more for her life. And you can empathize with that.
And she doesn't have friends. She doesn't have siblings,
Mm-mm.
so she is like really alone. It seems like she just doesn't have a close relationship with her mom. It seems like her dad, she
No.
did care for her dad in some
Yes.
way or another. Um, and I guess it's because he just was there, he wasn't making her feel bad or anything. Like the mom was just
Yeah.
constantly saying, "You're not gonna do this, I know who you truly are, and
Yeah.
making her feel like shit. But
Yeah, he's almost like one of the animals because she always is like, "Oh, the animals are my greatest audience." And in the same way that she talks to the animals, she talks to her dad. It's an audience member, someone to watch her, to observe her in her glory, but not someone who will reciprocate or provide anything for her. And I think he's also one of the few people who she isn't trying to get anything out of him because from her husband, she married her husband because she thought that he would take her away from that town. She bangs a projectionist because she thinks that he's going to take her to Europe. Every interaction she's having, she is looking for what it is that can help her pursue her dreams.
exactly, yeah. And then that's one reason why she kind of like admitted to hating her husband Howard, because she
Hmm.
thought he would take her away, but then he ended up going to war. And even Mitzi said that he could have gotten out of it. They know a
Yeah.
doctor, they have connections,
Yeah.
and he could have not gone, but he went because, I guess he wanted to be a good person and do
Hmm.
his duty.
Right.
And so Pearl was really upset by that because she was still stuck at the farm, which is fair, at that time as a woman,
Right.
marrying someone to get you out of a situation was kind of the only thing you could do.
Right. That was the huge,
Mm.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Let's take a moment to talk about the projectionist. So, like I said earlier, I loved the outfit. I didn't love the mustache. I feel like very few people can work a mustache. I
It's
really do.
no, you're right. I
Mhm.
would prefer no mustache, but
Yes.
because of the time, the period, it was popular. I'm like, he is an attractive dude for this time period. I thought he was very charming. Um,
Mhm.
and
Yeah, he was
he
very charming. He would have wooed me. I mean,
yeah,
not if I was married, but like
I'm married.
she did just like that was an iconic scene when she screamed at the freaking scarecrow, "I'm married." Oh wait, hold on. Let me show you this picture of him. This.
Well, yeah, that's a beard. That's not a mustache.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. If he looked like
He's
that,
not gonna look like that at that time period.
he
No one
should.
looked like that. Like,
At
yeah,
least,
that is a solid look, but the
at
best you
least
could
they
get
should
that
have
time was clean shaven.
clean shaven. That's what I
Yeah.
mean. Like he should have at least been clean shaven. But honest, whatever. I get that is part of the look, it's part of the lore, but
You know who he's
whatever.
gonna play, right?
No.
Superman.
Oh wait, I did scroll by and see him as super. Okay, I can see it. He's
Yeah.
giving a little bit of Henry Cavill, like he's like baby Cavill, like
They have a
you
very
know,
similar, yeah. He looks
yeah,
good. I've seen they
yeah,
have photos of him in the suit. He looks good.
yeah.
So I'm
I
very
see
excited.
it. I
So I
I
hope this guy does good because it has been a long while since we've gotten an
a
accurate
decent
Superman.
superhero. I was just gonna say any
Any
decent
superhero?
superhero movie.
That's yeah, no, yeah, valid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think he was in like anything else really big. I think
Yeah, what's his so the actor's name is David Corenswet,
mhm.
I think is how you pronounce his name. Oh, he's Philly, born in Philly, and
He's a Philly boy.
he's a Philly boy and he's only like 3 months older than you.
Oh
July 8th,
wow.
93.
Okay.
Uh he's an actor and a writer. Okay.
Okay,
But yeah, the
David.
politician. The politician is a show I guess he's in, which I haven't
Okay.
seen. Oh, okay. There's a movie that I watched that I'm gonna eventually recommend to you someday. If only we had thought we could have had a little that could have been our theme. But
Yeah.
Look Both Ways, he played a character in that.
Okay.
But I didn't recognize him because he didn't have a skeevy mustache in that
Fair.
one. But yeah, not a lot of really House of Cards, but I
Okay.
don't think it was just in 1 year, so I don't know that it was a long term
Superman might be his breakout.
big. Yeah.
See.
Yeah. Hopefully for him, do it well, dude.
Come on,
Fingers crossed
Philly.
for him. Yeah, we all love a good
Love to see it.
hometown hero, you know?
Another Bradley Cooper.
He'll film his next movie here, you know?
Yeah.
So I really liked his performance. I think he did a really good job with it. I was convinced, like, I could see how she would be wooed. She is yearning for her husband. She's
Yeah.
lonely. She's also kind of angry with him. this is an attractive guy who's saying all the right things in a flirty way, and he's not coming across super creepy. Like,
No.
I get red flags very easy, and he wasn't. Like, they were smaller. I think back then it probably wouldn't have been. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I
mean,
will
him,
say
yeah, him showing her the film without her consent is probably the
yes.
worst thing he did.
That's non-consensual pornography viewing.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of that. And he's like standing behind her, and I was like, take a few steps back.
Yeah.
So,
But she was like, I'm going to go home. And he was like, okay. You know, he didn't try
yes.
touching her or anything. He
Yeah.
waited for full consent.
So he was
love that.
he was not like blood red flagging it, but he was
Yeah, he had like a few flags, like a little.
he was like a yeah,
like he's probably
he was,
doing this to all the girls, you know.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. That movie's probably the Palace Follies is probably like 2 minutes shorter for all the splicing he did. So let's talk about Mia Goth's performance. She was incredible. Incredible.
Was she amazing?
She really just did an amazing job. I couldn't believe the monologue at the end and the way she's talking and going over it. You know, how she even memorized that and the passion she's bringing and the feeling.
Yeah.
It was really beautifully done.
I
She did
love
an
her.
amazing job.
Yeah, I'm like, from watching her in X, I was like, I'm a huge fan. Even like Emma. You know, Emma, I was like,
yeah.
but like X, I'm like, she's amazing. And then Pearl, like, she's even better. So everything
Yeah.
she's in, I watch because she is.
Yes. I forgot that she was the character in freaking Emma.
I
Yes.
know.
She killed that.
She did. And it's
Yeah.
unfortunate that horror movies don't really get recognition in
Yeah.
awards usually. Because I'm like,
Yeah.
that is a contender. She really killed
Yes.
this role.
Yeah, she did an amazing job.
And then,
But
like,
to
her-
be
Mhm.
I was just gonna say the award ceremonies don't mean anything to anybody anyway. So
Yeah, that's
what
true.
do they even mean? Anyway, go ahead.
I was gonna say, what'd you think about her smiling at the very end?
Oh my god, dude! First of all, her face must have hurt so freaking bad after doing that.
Yes, it lasted for 1 minute and 51 seconds. So she was doing it for almost 2 minutes.
Oh
And
my god!
It was first unplanned. The director didn't cut and just let her keep going. And there's a point where she kind of does like an impatient head shake to kind of
Yeah.
get him to like call it out. But yeah, he just had her keep smiling. And so she just started.
Yeah, I did see
crying
her
and
at one
getting-
point. Oh my god, I saw her at one point. Like the mouth, like the smile, go from smile to like she dropped it for a second and brought it back again, and I was
Uh-huh.
like, dude, that must have been so painful.
I know. The first time I saw that, it was so creepy because at first she's
Yes.
like looking away, and it looks like she just starts looking at the camera and is just
Yes.
smiling at the camera, and I'm like, I hate this.
Yeah, it's
so
awful.
creepy.
So awful.
The porn that was showed,
Mm-hmm.
it is a real porn. It's called A
course.
Free Ride, made
Oh.
in 1915. So
1915. Wow, is it the OG porn? Because
I feel like, I don't know if it's the OG, but a silent film historian named Kevin Brownlow said
Mhm.
that it had to be made in the early 1920s. That's how old it is. So
that's it. I mean, first of all, how wild that there's like the cutscenes with the font saying like a word,
right.
like in silent film pornography. It just like what?
It's so goofy. And it's just like
So
silent.
wild.
It's silent and it's black and white. And you just see like
Yes.
shining bright ass. You know,
My
it's
God.
It's really,
And it's not like, I mean, back then it would have been very vulgar, but
Oh yeah.
it was like, you know, they of course they only show the women, but they only show, I think it's like butts you really
Just
see.
butts,
You see a lot
yeah.
of butts. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't
which-
anything crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't. I think the cameras had to be like positioned in one area, right?
Yeah.
They couldn't like
Right,
swing it around,
right.
get all
Yeah,
the views.
that's true. Yeah. God. Also, her speaking of sex and fields like that pornography had, the scarecrow scene. We will now discuss the
Oh
scarecrow
my
scene
god!
because
First
it
of all,
was
that
weird
scarecrow
enough.
was so creepy looking.
it
I
is the
hate
creepiest
it.
scarecrow, the creepiest scarecrow that's ever lived.
I hate it.
Honestly,
And it
was
felt
horrible.
very weirdly like Dorothy Scarecrow because
Yes.
she had like the
It
overalls.
definitely did. Yes. I feel like that had to have been intentional because
Yeah, I think Wizard of Oz was like something inspired. That in another movie had
Yeah.
some sort of, even with the bright colors, because they wanted to do it in black and white. But
Oh,
the producers or whatever, the studio was like, no, don't do it. So they're like, all right, we'll make it as bright and colorful as possible then.
okay. Fair. I
Yeah.
mean, I did love all those like throwbacks to the old movies with the scene transitions and the
Hmm.
fonts and everything
Yeah.
did give that old movie feel. So I can see why they would have wanted to go black and white.
Right.
The scarecrow scene was a lot at first, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. First of all, it makes no sense that the little picture clip would have gone all the way into the center of a cornfield.
Right.
And then you get into the center of a cornfield and you get all creepy up in this scarecrow's face and you throw him to the ground and dance with him. And it's like, okay. I kept looking at it and I was like, try to envision that she's just very creative and she just doesn't have company and she is practicing her acting moves. And then it got weirder and weirder where she's kissing him and then she's kissing him with tongue and then she's screaming that she's married
Yeah.
and then she is pretending to bang it. And I was like, honestly, if this is her practicing her acting skills, she's doing great. However, I don't think that that's the case. I feel like she's just being weird.
Yeah. I mean, she kind of pictured the scarecrow as the projectionist. At one
Yes.
point, she sees his face as a scarecrow, and that's when she yells at him that she's married.
Yeah.
So I think, like, I don't know, she went into the cornfield, saw the scarecrow, and I don't know, she was just thinking about him because she just came from him.
Yes.
So I don't know if she was just being silly and like, oh, let me dance and, feeling giddy
Right.
and all this stuff. That's the only way I could think about it. And she's
Yes.
fucking bored. She doesn't want to go home.
Right,
So
right.
what's the next best thing to do, right?
Yeah, exactly. Pretend to bang a scarecrow, I guess. Okay. I feel like the roast pig is kind of symbolic of her decline
That's
because
true.
the roast pig starts and she hasn't killed anybody yet, and then it gets more and more maggoty as time goes
Mhm.
on as she slowly and slowly descends into madness. My survival number is very low. It's at a 2. And it's
Yeah.
because I felt like Mitzi handled it perfectly. She
Mhm.
handled it so well and she still got murdered. So I don't know how
Yeah.
you would escape Pearl if she wanted to really get you.
I think the only way is if you maybe had the upper hand somehow with a weapon,
Yeah.
or if you were like a
Yeah.
man, like the projectionist probably could have taken her down if he knew she was going to attack him, but she snuck up
Yeah.
on him. So,
Yeah.
and Pearl is kind of unsuspecting. She
Yes.
is in this horrible state. Mitzi leaves, and then Pearl's just kind of walking over to the axe and takes it out. And at that point, it's like, what is happening here? And Mitzi starts
Right.
running and calling for help, but she's running really slow. And Pearl's
Right.
just kind
And
of like fast walking
yeah.
and catching up. And I'm like,
Yes.
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
girl, run.
I hated it. I really
Yeah.
that would have been my deleted scene if it wasn't for the bathtub scene or the scarecrow scene. I don't know. You know what? Yeah, it comes in third. There's a lot of deleted scenes,
There's
but
there's a few. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. The bathtub scene I also thought was a little weird. I mean, it was just her, like, I guess her father, she just bathed her father. And then she didn't want to waste the hot water, is what she tells her mom. And she just goes in the tub and is taking a bath and like talking to her dad. So it doesn't feel weird,
It's not like
but
sexual, but
yeah, she's a
what
grown woman. And
you're a grown woman. You could have turned him away from you.
right, right.
The
That's the
mom
thing
is
too. He's
yeah.
like stuck there, he's
She has
just
no choice.
right.
Right. The mom comes in and clearly thinks that something's weird about it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's just going to show further the way that she doesn't see her dad as human at this point. Because,
That's very fair.
if she has these ethics and these morals originally around the projectionist and not cheating on her husband, you would think she would find it weird in the 1920s,
Mhm.
early the 1918, that be naked in front of your father, regardless of whether or not he's in a vegetative state.
Yeah.
So
And she
that
even at
part,
one point is like pinching his skin and kind of like
right?
testing to see if he would react. And so for
Yes.
her, it's just like she doesn't see her dad as barely alive. Like he's just
Right.
there.
Yeah. It's pretty dark.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the last talking point I have is I don't really know where the whole drinking morphine thing came into play. I don't know why she did that. And
I don't know if it's like a kind of like an addiction thing, because I think people would
right.
get addicted to morphine.
Yes, which is
That's
I
the
was
thing.
wondering, like, are they kind of hinting that she's trying like self-medicating? I don't know.
She could have, I don't know, maybe she must have taken a sip sometime and was like, this
Yeah.
isn't too bad, and just would
Right.
have a sip or so every so often. But
Right.
yeah, that's the only thing I can really think of. It was a weird thing for her to do.
Yeah. My most memorable scene was the murder of the projectionist. That
Okay.
felt I did feel like the mom's death was pretty like her downfall was pretty memorable, but this is the first time she like in cold blood committed a murder,
Yeah.
and her devastation and desperation to be loved was very apparent.
Hmm.
So I found that to be my most memorable. I said I would pass on main character, main villain. She's both, and I don't want to get murdered.
She a little cray
So
cray. I don't think there's
yeah.
anything you could do. Well, I don't know. I will say she's still married to Howard in X.
Is she?
So X takes place in the 70s, I think.
Okay.
But at this point, Pearl is old. She's an old,
Yes.
old woman, and she's still played by Mia Goth. Just an
Oh
old
my
people
God.
makeup. Yeah, which is really funny. And then Mia Goth also plays the main character, Maxine. And Maxine is a porn star, and
Mhm.
her and her troupe.
Oh, okay. That's why it's triple X. Got
Yeah.
it.
Her and her troupe.
Oh, and that's why porn is brought up. Okay, got it.
Yes, so it's all linked, the sexual themes, but they want to have a film made in a farmhouse. So they're able to use the barn as a setting. And so they're filming their thing. And Pearl, the old woman now, sees them doing stuff. And she's like, I kind of want to like get freaky. And of course,
Shut up.
the one guy's like, no, like what? And she gets pissed off and kills him. And then she decides to kill everyone. So when you're watching X, it's just this old woman killing people because the one dude didn't want to have sex with her, which is like crazy.
No way.
Yeah. So then it's them trying to survive. Maxine survives. She ends up killing Pearl and Howard and all that. And then the third movie is Maxine now trying to become a star. Her whole thing is she wants to be famous like Pearl. But she's starting off as a porn star. So that is X. X is like crazy. And then so with Pearl, when you watch X and you watch Pearl, you can see more of the connections with like the porn movie and all that stuff. But yeah, Pearl is still married to Howard in X. So
Is he like also kind of off his rocker?
I guess you have to be a little bit, but he mostly is just trying to protect Pearl. Like it seems like he really loves her and he just wants to protect her. And he does get pissed off when she starts killing people. 'Cause he's like, what are you doing? It seems like they kind of were able to live this life peacefully and quietly until this group comes and then things just get all fucked up.
Right.
And Pearl's just like, I just want to feel young and pretty again. And Howard's like, I can't have sex with you. I'm old now. Like, we can't. And then they have old people sex. So
No. Why do you want me to watch that? Please don't make me.
I already told you, so I wouldn't have watched. I would watch it with you if you wanted to watch it, but it's gruesome. Like it's not horrible, but I don't know. I couldn't believe what I was watching. To be honest, I was like, never would have guessed this was the plot at all. This is really shocking. But it was well received, because it was just unsuspecting. You didn't expect an old woman to just decide to murder these people. It was just kind of a goofy premise. Ty West, the director, and Mia Goth both collaborated on the script. So Mia Goth is listed as a writer for Pearl.
Okay.
And they talked about it during FaceTime, and this was during COVID quarantine. And they were talking about it prior to filming X. So they were already like talking about making the movie Pearl, but they had to make sure that X was going to get greenlit before doing it. And luckily it was well received. So they were able to do both of them. And now they're able to do the third one as well.
In the movie X, do they talk about the killing of Mitzi and the parents and stuff?
No.
Okay.
None of that is talked about. You don't know anything about Pearl. All you know about Pearl is that she is like
thirsty.
jealous. She's just very jealous of these young people. Like she and you watch Pearl and you learn through X that she never left a farm. She just kind of was stuck being a farmer, not stuck being Howard's wife, but like, she wasn't really able to experience life and do things. And so she sees these people, they're young, they're hot, They're having
Yeah.
sex, and she's like, I'm jealous. Like, I not that anymore. I never got to really experience that. So that's like where you get from X.
Okay. I was not expecting that at all.
No.
Wow.
it's,
Okay.
it's well timed. But
hmm
yeah.
I can
so-
also see why X could have been the alternative choice for this common thread.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's been a while since I've seen X, and I know Pearl is not as gruesome. So I'm like, I'm just gonna have you watch Pearl because I think X would be a little much. I think it would be at least entertaining because it would keep you on your toes. You
Okay.
would have been like, I don't know what's gonna happen next. So
All
because
right.
it really was that type of movie. So,
Okay.
but I decided to give you Pearl because it was a little
Thank you.
less.
Thank you for giving me something a little less. It wasn't scary. It really wasn't scary. It was
Mhm.
not like I didn't love the killing bits, but it wasn't the worst thing.
Right. Yeah. The only other thing I have is about the mom character who's played by Tandy Wright. Tandy Wright. She was actually the intimacy coordinator on the movie X.
Oh.
And she was offered the role as Ruth as the first film was wrapping up. And according to the director, she learned German for the role and became so convincing in her accent that she fooled 2 German members on the crew. And I was like, couldn't believe
No.
it. I'm like, her accent was so good. I couldn't believe it.
Yes. It was very well done.
So,
Wow.
Good for her for killing that role.
Pretty
So.
impressive.
She was great too. I thought
She did a good job.
her and Pearl, like her and Mia Goth, really were really good. Everyone was really
Yes.
good in the movie. It was
Yeah.
an impressive cast of people. So
It definitely was. And it wasn't like there wasn't a lot of people. It was pretty small and pretty simple scene wise, all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
it was definitely well done. Very well done. High quality cinematography, writing, acting, all of that was really good. And that's what brought it to the grade I'm gonna give it. The grade. The score. Okay, ready?
yeah,
1.5.
1.5, really?
Yes. Yes. Your face is so upset right now. I'm so sorry.
I'm surprised. Honestly,
Yes. So I struggled with the rating. I really did because part of me thinks it's well done. It's a good storyline. It was
Mhm.
incredibly well acted, and I didn't hate it. Like I didn't hate the movie. Um but it just was like too, I think it was too like uncomfy.
Okay.
And I think that I felt like it was a little slow. Like the slowness of it, that took like a star for me, a heart or whatever we call them. And then I think the discomfort with watching her like like this kind of like mental health struggle
Yeah.
was another reason. The snap, the fact that it felt like it was just this sudden killing
Mhm.
spree that she went on, those were like played big parts for me. The weird scarecrow scene didn't help. The dad bathing scene didn't help. Like that, the uncomfy
fair.
factor I think
Yeah.
played a big role. But it's not, you know. Part of me thinks maybe it should be higher. Maybe it should be a 2.5 because of the fact that it wasn't atrocious. But
Mhm.
I wouldn't want to watch it again.
That's fair.
I feel like I just randomly pick a number out of my head and I'm like, that's what it is. I just go by my heart, and that was what my heart said. And so
yeah.
I'm so sorry. It's been a while since I had such a poor rating on a movie. But
I am a little surprised. I feel like from
Yeah.
the way you were talking about it, it
I
seems
know.
like
I
So
almost
I-
convinced myself to watch it again, and then
I don't want to say you pulled it out of your ass, but this movie was well rated, well received.
it was. No, I
So.
saw a 7 out of 10 on IMDb. It's again, it's not a bad movie. It's just slow and weird. And
It is weird. It had to be
you know,
weird.
yeah, it did. And so, I mean, if I was gonna be more generous, I would say I wouldn't go. I could never go higher than a 3 on it. I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think. But I went with a 1.5. I'm going with 1.5. I think it's also just. I think a big part of it is just that portrayal of mental health, which I didn't love, which I understand plays a big role. I just was not a fan of it.
Yeah.
For me. But again, kudos to Mia Goth. I do think she should have won awards for it. She did beautifully.
Yeah. She's
Yeah.
really great. I feel like Pearl's a movie too that you enjoy as a fan if you liked X. Like,
Yeah.
because the way you saw Pearl, you were expecting things differently. So I think as someone who hasn't watched X,
Yeah.
I don't know if Pearl just like is like a different, I don't know, vibe. I feel like you watch X and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, like let me watch Pearl, let me see more about it, and you learn more about the character and kind of creates more of a grounded universe
I could
here.
see that. I could see that because I'm always looking for the next shoe to drop. I'm always trying to predict the next move, and it was very
Yeah.
predictable. It was as
Yeah.
a movie, just kind of like, okay, she kills the mom, she kills the dad, she kills
Yeah.
the guy, whatever. Like, I wasn't really surprised
I
at
mean,
any
most
point, except for
slashers
the
are kind of
alligator.
yeah.
The
I
alligator
think
was
most
surprising.
slashers are kind of like that. You know, it's
Yeah.
the most surprise you might get is that the final girl dies. I don't know, or
Right.
a creative death to the villain. But
Yeah.
most slashers are like, well, everyone's dying, I guess.
Right. Right.
So,
Well, I'm
and I
sorry.
think that's why people liked X because it was a little different. Like
Yeah.
it was
Yeah,
unsuspecting.
you
So,
telling me about it, I was not expecting any of the things that were coming out of your mouth. So step
but yeah,
by
no,
step.
you didn't have to love Pearl. Pearl was one that
Okay.
I think is fun
Right.
for someone who likes X
Yes.
to enjoy, but
You're writing later tonight, dear diary.
no,
Today
no.
was awful.
I would much rather you enjoyed Carrie than
Oh,
Pearl.
sorry. Sorry,
That was
I'll
that
never
was
be able to
you'll
get
have
over
to
the bullying.
rewatch. You're gonna have to rewatch
All right, well,
Carrie.
maybe for our 1-year anniversary.
Yeah,
we'll-
we'll have each other rewatch movies that we feel like were
Yes,
wrongly rated.
You did the poor rating on this one. Try
I'm
again.
sorry, you weren't in the right state of mind. Please try again.
You were a noob, but now you're not. Let's
Yeah,
go again.
You've seen enough horror to kind of get an
Yeah.
idea, so you can try again.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So for next week, for our lovely romance week, we have the movie Singing in the Rain. So for once, I get to make Demi get cultured. I'm so happy. When I first sent you the title of the movie and you were like, oh yeah, I was like, oh, has she already seen it? But you hadn't, and it made me so happy. I am so glad.
I just know it's a musical, so I was like,
Yes,
hell yeah,
it's a
this
musical.
is a 5-star in the making.
Yes.
5-star in the making.
I hope so. God, I hope so. I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah.
So, cause college, I think. So I'm really hoping it lives up to my memories, which were
Mhm.
very strong and very positive.
Mhm.
So it tells a story of two silent film stars, Lena and Don, and the transition from being silent film stars to being film stars, actual the talkies.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of the song Video Killed the Radio Star, except it's with voice because Lena has an incredibly horrible voice. She has this really annoying high-pitched voice.
Okay.
And so she's not going to translate well to a screen when she's talking.
Yeah.
It looks great in silent films, but once it comes to talking, it's not so great.
Mm.
So everyone thinks Lena and Don are dating. However, that is just a publicist's fantasy that they've put out to sell films. In reality, he starts dating one of the chorus girls who is trying to make it as a star in Hollywood. And it's kind of about her. She's got a beautiful voice and the ups and downs of this journey to stardom.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm
So
excited.
I'm excited too.
I
It's got
haven't
some
watched a
quality
musical in a
songs.
while, so
Yeah, me neither. Well, it's probably been like a couple months, not like that long, but
well, last week.
right. I mean, it was just. I mean, this morning is that feels like forever ago.
Yeah, I generally don't remember the last time I watched a musical. It's been a while. Yeah, I found out Bryce never watched Grease. Did I tell you this? Did I tell you this?
I think you did tell me this. I feel like you had.
I feel like it's hard to watch Grease now. It's so inappropriate. It's so
Oh, it's such
So
a
wrong.
shame, isn't it? It really
Brett's
is.
not gonna appreciate it like we all
No,
appreciate.
no, he's gonna be such a hater. I know him.
I
He's
know.
gonna be like,
He's gonna be such a
he's
I
gonna make
can't
so
watch
many
it with him.
comments. No, he's gonna make comments about the sexism, and it's fair,
Yeah,
but
it's fair.
also, but also, let it be.
It's fine. It's
Right.
fine.
It's the 80s, 70s, whatever time period is set in. It's fine.
It's like, oh, so she changes herself for Danny?
Right. Dude.
Will you get a grip? Okay, she looks good. I don't know what to tell you.
Did you not see the leather suit? It's amazing. She
Alex.
starts smoking too, which isn't
I know.
good. Like, that's not good for you.
There's a
Please.
lot of.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that go wrong. You know,
Anyway, it's
people
my
getting
favorite.
pregnant
So.
as teenagers. Yeah, but
Yeah.
whatever.
I actually
Well,
saw
I'll
a
watch-
TikTok the other day, and it was showing the real ages. I didn't know that John Travolta was 23 in that movie. Only 23.
Really?
Yes.
Baby.
Yeah. And
Huh.
Olivia, what's her full name?
Newton-John?
Newton-John.
Olivia Newton-John? Yeah.
She was 29 in the movie, which is
Wow,
wild. She
okay.
looks so young.
Yes.
And then a lot of the rest were like 30, 31. Not even that old though. Like definitely old for teenagers, but like
right.
they looked old. They looked like they could have been pushing 40. And I'm like,
Yeah,
damn,
so,
y'all
like,
look
the-
like that 30.
The teen pregnancy kid was like she was looking old. She was looking old.
She looked rough. I think she was 32. I think she was one of the oldest ones.
She was like twice the age she was supposed to be.
Rizzo, right? Rizzo?
Yeah, Rizzo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can always watch Grease with me.
Okay. I'll do that.
I'll never
then.
turn you down. Yeah, we don't need boys.
No, we should close out.
I guess so.
Okay.
It's you.
Yeah. You guys can follow us on Instagram at How Do You Watch This, or TikTok at How Do You Watch, or email us at howdoyouwatchthis@gmail.com. And those are our socials. So see you next week.
Thanks. Bye.